Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dias Cast. I am Russell Song, and with me I have...
Fishman.
Well, last we left off, Aquans Jonas had been informed by the local watch that the former grave robbers turned slavers, which they had killed in the previous adventure, were suddenly missing, as in their corpses were gone. Investigating the scene showed that either something dragged the bodies away or the bodies themselves got up and walked away. Investigating the area, they were able to... Investigations were somewhat strained early on in their adventure, shall we say, in an attempt to find out exactly what was going on. Fortunately, they came across a mother caring for a child who had claimed that her husband had gone missing. Following this lead, they found a pendant in the mud and near the docks. They decided to dive down into the water, where they found that all of the aquatic spiders, which they had previously encountered on their forays into the lake, were dead, and their nest completely destroyed. Believing they were dealing with an aquatic menace, they, much to the protest of Jonas, decided to investigate the waterfront area and in the lake. Late at night, however, they came across a strange creature, some sort of ghast-like entity with glowing eyes and teeth, with an undead horde at its command. The creature fled, but they dispatched the risen dead, and decided to track it down into its lair, into the underground sewers, where they had previously encountered a hooded basilisk in its lair. They finally definitely dealt with the creature, and reported it to the watch, and took it down there, and clearing up the matters completely. However, not before a few members of the watch who had worked with said grave robbers decided to make an attempt on their lives. This was an incredibly poor decision on his part. Apprehending him and taking him into the watch, the party then decided that it was time to take some rest and some time to prepare for the real threat that was coming any day now, the arrival of the Court of the S.A.N. expeditionary force. As many as a dozen members, minus one, whom they have already found. And as we left off last time, we're going to pick up right there. So we just left the town square. What is it you feel like we should do to prepare for... Which, as far as we know, it could be tomorrow or it could be any day now, basically. We don't know the exact arrival date, but we're coming to near the end of our expected grace period.
Well, I always believe in preparing because things may not always go according to how we want them to go. Mm-hmm. So there's this shopping I want to do, and I also want to go to Wendell's. Hopefully that scroll I ordered is in. Mm-hmm. I want to obviously prepare that and write it in my spellbook. There's a couple of things I also want to buy from Wendell's, and we have 4 bags of holding now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I do want to keep 2 for myself. You're going to have 1. Mm-hmm. The other one, I have an idea that I want to run by Wendell, so that's another thing we need to do. Okay.
One other thing of note is I need to make a pair of rolls here, but I'm not going to tell you what they're for just yet. Right. There's going to be a lot of that this session, I promise you.
Alright.
But those will become clear in time. So, we're going to Wendell's. Alright, so we go to Kettle Whistle's Curiosity. It's Wendell's magic shop.
Ask if my scroll is in.
So that was one of the rolls I rolled for, by the way. I decided to leave that up a little bit up to the chance of the dice. Odds, the scroll wasn't in. Evens, the scroll was. I rolled a 4.
Ah, good. I had a blast with that thing.
Yes, it is. It arrived shortly. It says the weather might have delayed things, but it doesn't seem to have turned out that way. Yeah. Basically, worst case scenario, if I rolled a 1, your scroll would have been in tomorrow. Alright, so he takes out the scroll. Are we still leaving this secret to what the spell is, or do you...
I can wait.
Alright.
I also got to take a little paper and ink. I've already calculated all that out. I also want to tell Wendell that we have an extra bag of holding that I want to give to him because some bad guys are coming. Either, tomorrow or the day after. It's hard to tell exactly when.
Yeah.
And they have issues with wizards. And actually, basically, any spellcaster that's not a sorcerer, and definitely not ones that are not part of their little cult. So I want to advise him to take a lot of his stuff, that's high-end stuff especially, bag it up, and basically pare down his shop into a bare minimum so that if they come in and try and strong-arm stuff out of him, we don't get anything important.
Yep. Alright.
How does he feel about that?
Make a persuasion check with advantage.
That never works out for me, you know that.
You have advantage, though.
So I rolled a pair of sixes. -1.
Well, fortunately, the DC wasn't high. It was actually 5, but I still wanted you to roll. You could have rolled lower than you did. But this is basically us warning him about a potential danger to his life.
Yeah. Oh, we have a lot of rapport with him.
Yes, we also have that, which is why you had advantage on the roll. He's not entirely comfortable with leaving his house, but he does understand that the gravity of the situation, and he's willing to accept our aid in any way he can, any way we can.
Well, we have a couple of ideas. I need to go do some stuff first. We'll come back this evening and we'll run by some more ideas with you.
And I say, and we're also going to be wanting to buy a fair amount of supplies to prepare for what's coming, because, well, we are not going to just be up and disappearing yet.
Alright, so pay him.
Yep.
Head back to the inn.
Alright, so we worked out the cost, which actually we calculated wrong last time. Because it's actually 400 gold, because there's an added cost onto procuring the scroll. With our discount, brings it down to 320. So you pay him for that.
Yeah. And a bit of paper ink, so between the two, I'll just give him 400.
Okay.
Because it is cheaper for me to transcribe this particular spell because it's in my wheelhouse.
Yes.
Alright, so back to the inn.
Alright, so we return to the whippoorwill.
I will transcribe that spell to start off with.
Alright, so it is a 3rd level spell, so that takes you 3 hours.
And the other thing I want to do, I'll probably do after we go back to Wendell's, because I don't want him to stay up too late or anything. I want to try and make my first potion of extra healing.
So the greater healing potion, yeah.
The other thing I do, like I said, I wanted to buy some food because this could go wrong for us, and I do want to be able to leave town prepared.
Alright, one thing that I want to do is I have ingredients. I have, here's it. 10, I wrote down 10 ingredients for paper and ink, which we took from the alchemy lab that Therian had set up in his underground complex there.
Yep.
Because you're going to be working on something in the next 3 hours, I'm not going to be able to do all of it at once. But I'm going to want to get that process started. And I'm going to do that now.
Sure.
So I'm going to start it now, and then we'll probably finish it in the evening. Alright. So I still have a portent left over, which is a 16 from last session, so I'm going to use that just to make sure I can do that.
Okay. After that, we'll have a bit of a bite to eat. Sorted out the bag of holding.
Yes, so they'll be about supper time by the time we're finished, almost.
Yeah, and then we'll go back to Wendell's, and I'll give him the bag of holding. Tell him tomorrow, or whenever these guys show up, we have an idea to help keep you safe, which is Aquans will set up an alarm spell on a window or whatever you like, and you'll be the only one that can be able to trigger it. So if you trigger that, it'll be a silent alarm. Hey, we're a security company now.
We sort of are.
And we'll come and hopefully deal with any kind of threat to you.
Yeah. I'm going to set that up in a place that only he usually has access to, so like a door, like an archway to the back room. All right, so I'm just going to look again at the specifics of the alarm spell, just because we usually just set it up as a security measure for us, but I just want to choose creature. You may choose creatures that do not trigger the alarm. You set an alarm against. I can't remember if this is a spell that you can give someone a password or something for, and then they. I don't think I wrote down all the details in my notes.
Well, I know you can set it up so certain people won't trigger.
Yes, I know. Tiny. No. I can't. Okay. Alright, yeah. So I can't set up as like give him a password to say then. Set an alarm against unwanted intrusion, choose a door, window, or other area. Alright, so not the door to his back room, I don't think.
No, just a window. There's no way they're going to be coming through a window, so
yeah.
Just a window, and he knows where it is,
yeah.
and he can trip it whenever he wants.
So the back room is divided into two areas, basically, for a shop. One is basically just a storeroom, and one is basically his work area, where he does all his enchanting. There is a window there, because occasionally you want the air to flow through, specifically in summer. It's closed at the moment, so I'm going to ward that with my alarm spell. I'm going to take out the little bell on the silver thread. No? You want me to do it now? Okay.
Not now. Tomorrow, or whenever these guys show up, only lasts 8 hours.
True, we could come back and do it again. Alright, we won't do that now then.
They don't know when they're going to show up.
Alright, so we have some shopping to do then. Should I start us off?
Well, yeah, I've already done everything I need to do.
Alright. As mentioned...
Some interesting potions, which I don't think he does.
He has potions on him if you want to purchase them, but we can talk about that in a second. Alright, as mentioned previously, I am in the process of copying my spellbook for all intents and purposes. Because I now have an arcane grimoire, which I can use as a spellbook. So this gives me an important opportunity, I think, for a lot of wizards, is to create a backup spellbook. Because if your spellbook is lost or destroyed, it's gone. So I calculated the cost and time for that required. And it comes to 1,950 gold pieces for all the spells in my spellbook currently. Well, I can afford it. But yes, I am going to purchase that, and I am going to mark it down on my character sheet. Obviously I'm not going, this is the one time I'm not saying how many units of ink and paper it is, because I didn't calculate that. I just calculated the total price and time required, because this is going to take a while. So let's go right down. Ink and... Yeah.
We buy an awful lot of it, so.
I'm just going to write down copying spellbook on my character sheet. And this is going to take, because this also takes time, as we've said, it's going to take 80 hours to copy down. So it's going to take several days. So this is going to be a long-term project, which I will...
It's going to take several weeks.
Yeah, well, several days. A 24-hour a day. I know I can't work on it all the time, but yes. So,
you're a slave driver for yourself.
No. So, assuming I'm going to be working on this, well, even if it's only 8 hours a day, at some point, I could get it done in 10 days. So, going forward, I'm going to be working on this as a long-term project. And I'm going to basically mention it, well, basically whenever it's finished. Because otherwise it's going to go on forever.
Yeah, it's a background thing.
It's a background thing.
General research.
Yeah. It doesn't require any rules either, because I'm basically just copying spells from my own spellbook. So, that's nice. Alright. Did we want to purchase anything from him before we go?
Well, I'm going to give him the bag of holdings. I do want him to be more secure. And I want him to be able to put a lot of stuff into that and hide it somewhere where they won't be able to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, just having interesting potions, and not healing potions, just something different.
Well, he does have healing potions. The only other potion he has really at the moment is the Oil of Etherealness, which we mentioned last time.
Okay, that's fine. I don't really need that.
I know you're going to be making greater healing potions, but I think I am going to pick up the other one he has anyway, just to have.
Okay. Besides, I have not yet even made one.
Yes, we don't know how successful you're going to be in making this.
The DC is harder than it is for just regular healing potions.
Not as bad as, like, the potions of heroism, though.
No. Alright.
Okay, if you're curious, he still has 3 regular healing potions, but if we're not interested in those...
Nope, I have enough.
Okay. Alright, so then we are going to be leaving Wendell's for the moment?
Yep, on the way back, I want to stop in at the general store.
Yep.
I want to pick up the healing kit, and I also want to pick up a bunch more traveling food. You know, dried meats, cheeses, dried fruits,
Okay.
hardtack, that sort of stuff. Just, I want to bolster the amount of food I have, because we haven't done that in a while. And like I said, things may not go the way we want.
No.
So leave town.
We are planning, I think, on leaving Vyrn's Run going forward, but...
True, but
Yeah.
that may happen sooner than we want.
Okay, so how much food are we picking up?
I'm picking up a ton. I got 2 bags to hold it.
I'm afraid I need an actual number.
Oh. I'm going to pick up 48 days worth of food and water.
48 days! Okay.
I told you it was done.
Alright. How much food did you have on you left out of curiosity? I had 18 days worth of food.
I had 21. But I'm going to just refresh it all. I know we kind of treat bags of holding as stasis pods, but I'm going to refresh it all, make sure it's...
Okay, so we get rid of our old food and we buy the new one. I'm not sure if it really slows, if it's just stasis or if it just slows it down or not. Or maybe we might just be misinterpreting that, but it can work that way in our campaign a little bit. It's just one of those things you don't pay attention to when playing.
Exactly. I don't really want to get bogged down into trying to keep track of how fresh my food is.
No. However, we are buying a lot of food. It's going to cost both of us 20 gold to buy all that.
Alright.
Because that's a lot of food we're buying. This is a general store is not willing to part with that much food without, you know...
I don't know how people around here manage to feed themselves, and that's the price of food.
Well, we're buying an awful lot of it all at once.
True. I would feed a family of 4 for a week. Anyway, not important. So I got the paper and ink, I got the scroll, gave him that.
One other thing I'm going to buy is a spell component, which should be here, because it just has to be a lens. Because we picked up a spell recently that uses that as a spell component, so I'll just pick that up.
You like a magnifying lens?
Just a lens. Lens or magnifying glass, either.
I have one.
No, that's right, you have that, You kept the lens key that was in the Lyrian facility from the plateau.
Yeah, still have it.
Okay.
You want it?
Sure, I'll use that. It's a little larger than what I need.
Yeah. I will scratch it off my list. If I can find it.
But did you finally get rid of it?
Oh no, it's here somewhere.
It is a minor item that can easily be grouped in with the gold we're paying for the food. It's fine if you can't find it.
There it is, I found it. It is a yellow crystal glass.
Yes.
Magnifying glass. Alright. A lot of stuff.
Okay.
Alright, one last thing I have to carry around with me. So so what I want to do after all that, so I'll go back to the inn, go up to our room, and I'm going to try and make a greater healing potion.
Okay. There are a few things weren't you trying? Didn't you want to do besides just buy food?
Healer's kit.
Yeah, restock the healer's kit.
Yeah.
All right. That basically means you're buying a new one. So I'm trying to remember what was. It's been a while since we picked that up. 1 second, I'll look up what that costs. Healer's kit. Costs 5 gold.
Yeah.
Alright. So, you can basically just add 10 charges to the one you have.
Done.
Okay.
And now I'm going to roll for my potion.
Yes. So, it's a medicine check.
Yep.
Did you want...
I rolled a 13. So that brings it up to an 18, which is a success.
18.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm proficient in medical check.
Yep, so that's +3 and your wisdom modifier.
Which is, maybe that's only +1. Oh, +1, my bad, 17.
17 is still a success. The DC for an uncommon potion is 15.
Yep.
So, you have a greater healing potion now.
Yep.
In addition to the 2 I'm carrying currently.
And the other thing I want to do is I want to change around the spells in my Ring of Spell store
Alright.
before I go to bed. I'm going to cast some spells into that.
Yep.
So that's all my shopkeeping crap.
Alright, I think that I'm going to finish up processing the ink and paper,
Yeah.
which will take the remainder of the evening anyway. Alright, but I now have 5 units, 5 units of ink and paper, in addition to all the ones that I just bought. I'm keeping them separate because they are for separate purposes.
Alright. Well, I think that's enough
Yeah, for one evening.
activities.
So, we take a long rest, so replenish your spell slots, and you can prepare new spells if you want when the morning comes.
Well, I have one new spell for sure when I'm prepared. So.
Yeah. And I get 2 new portents. Oh, wow. Well, that's going to be interesting later.
Good or really good or really bad?
Really good.
Oh, alright. Okay.
Alright. So, we wake up in the morning
Yep.
to, well, the sounds of fanfare. Like trumpets.
Oh, really?
Yes.
This is unusual.
Yes, it is.
Really at the circus or the Buskers came to town a few days ago.
Yes. But this is different.
This is actually like trumpet fanfare.
Yes.
Alright.
It is
Well,
actually what
after
it,
breakfast.
it is what wakes us up.
Oh, alright, so for going breakfast, I guess we'll get dressed and head out and see what all the hubbub's about.
Alright, the noise, or music I suppose, depending how you want to look at it.
That's how good the player is.
Where, hang on, let me see. That's an 11. It's average.
Okay. Which is probably noise to me.
Yes. It, however, does have a somewhat militaristic theme to it being played.
Okay.
And it is coming from the town square.
Alright. Let's head that way.
It only goes on for about a minute before it stops. But
We're probably not even dressed.
But we get dressed and grab our belongings, and we head out.
Yes.
And there is a large crowd of people gathered.
Okay.
And we come into the central town square by the fountain, and there are 5 people there, all dressed in chainmail.
Okay.
4 are dressed fully as you would expect some sort of soldier or guard to be.
Yep.
In chainmail, helmets, And each of them has in their hands a long pole arm. It would almost be a trident, except it has only 2 prongs. In the center between the 2 prongs, in place of the third, is a clear crystal jammed into the center of it. And there are runes along the prongs. And as the 2 of them have stopped the fanfare, and all of them slam them on the ground, you see arcs of electricity arcing up between the crystal and the tongs.
Alright. Jacob's ladder bidets.
Yeah. The 5th individual is even more impressive than these 4, sorry. He is also dressed in chainmail, but is much larger. He is a Goliath, and he is a Goliath even among Goliaths, you imagine, because he is at least 8 feet tall.
Wow, so we can see him over the crowd easily.
Yes. He is of literal Herculean proportions.
Wow.
He is wearing chainmail. He's a long fur cloak. He has a helmet on, in the center of which you recognize the emblem of the Court of the Seven. The hand with the 7-pointed star.
I guess the wait is over.
He also has a bident. Except this one looks like it's made out of, as opposed to the other ones, which are some sort of silver-like metal. This one looks like it's made of gold. And he wears an ornate belt, which you can easily spot.
Okay.
And everyone is watching this. And there are a few members of the Watch present as well, who are looking rather nervous at this because, well, at least some word has gotten around that this was coming.
Okay. Because Reardon did not sit on his hands the entire time.
No. Word spreads fast in this town.
Okay.
And he says, "People of Vyrn's Run," he says, "I am General Uthal Skywatcher of the Court of the Seven. Says, we have come to your town to offer aid in event of the recent storm. Says, which I can see the damage of even now, still plaguing your town. Says, and I can also see that your so-called masters have been impotent to try and rectify the situation. Says, homes have been destroyed. Says, your docks lie in ruin. Your fishing boats are gone. Says, your very livelihood is at risk. And what do? Nothing. Says, we have come to offer aid to those who are willing to have it. Says, and all we ask in return is the aid in our investigation of the recent events that have happened in your town, which are of great interest. He says, to the lords and ladies who rule from the seat of the Seven. Says, are you doing anything in response to this? Or are you going to let him continue his speech?
I'm going to let him go a little bit longer here. I am curious as to what he's going to try and offer.
I'm going to make a roll here to see what the Watch is doing.
Okay.
That's high. You see the 3 Watch officers nearby, one of whom you recognize as the sergeant we were dealing with the previous day.
Alright.
He steps up, along with 2 others flanking him, and says, this gathering represents as an attempt to disturb the peace. He says, I must ask, sir, that you cease and desist with this. The crowd parts around the Watch officer, and it suddenly looks like he's very isolated, as if they're just not entirely... They're just moving to this...
There's something I want to do at this point, because this looks like it might escalate real fast.
Okay.
I am going to just stick in behind the crowd a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to activate my Ring of Spell Storing, and I want to cast Enhanced Ability.
Alright.
Cat's Grace.
Cat's Grace. So that's for dexterity. Alright, before that spell takes effect, I'm going to have you roll a stealth check.
I was going to use this for my stealth check.
Yes, but you are intending to do this discreetly, I presume.
Well, trying not to be in plain sight, but...
So I think you can have advantage on this. I was trying to think if there's a way I could do that without giving you an advantage, but I don't think there is. It's just you versus his passive perception. Because he is distracted.
That would be a 16.
Oh, his passive perception is not that high. No, it's not. Yep. You are just blending into the crowd quite easily. Right, so you do that, you cast your spell, it's gone from the ring. And you feel your enchantment infuse you with the grace of a cat. Your steps become lighter, and you are even more hidden than you were before. Is that all you're doing at the moment?
And I want to take advantage of that, and I want to find a nice secure spot out of the line of sight of the Goliath, but keeping an eye on the general crowd, especially where they parted. And I'm going to hunker down there and try and hide.
Okay. We'll say you're hidden at the moment because you rolled high enough.
Right.
He has definitely lost sight of you.
Right. So I'm going to wait a moment just so I want to see how this...
You want to see what he does?
I want to see it play a little further, yes.
Okay. Alright, he says, "Behold, people of Vyrn's Run, the servants of your masters, and how helpless they are. He says, in the face of a storm." And he raises his hand, and you hear him casting a spell, speaking in a language you don't know. But you do recognize the spell as it happens, because you cast it quite recently, as the winds pick up, and all three of them are hit with a gust of wind. And let's see how they do in resisting this. So it's a strength saving throw against his spell save DC. Impressively, the sergeant rolls a natural 20.
Oh, not affected at all.
The other two roll a 9 and an 8, and they go flying backwards. Of course, he is struggling against the wind. And I can't remember if we did this correctly last time or not, but does this happen every time? Or is it just a one-time thing? Or does he have to make the save?
Yeah, I think it's just a one-time check. I'm not sure. It seems like it should be an ongoing thing, but...
Strength saving throw, wave. Each creature that starts its turn in the wind, in the gust.
Okay.
So it's worded a little differently, but yes. So he does need to... But he is succeeding on. He's basically dug the pole of his spear into the soft earth just off the beaten trail of the cobblestones, and he's hanging on to it, and you can see him struggling against the wind. The other two are blown 15 feet back and are knocked prone. And the wind is obviously being maintained at the moment, and everyone is just looking at this in awe, and a few people actually do run at this because they're starting to realize that, oh, this could escalate quite quickly. There are a few people whose judgment has not left them.
Alright, so this sounds like my cue for what I had planned.
Right?
I'm going to trigger the second spell I have on my Ring of Spell Story. And I'm going to cast Major Image.
That is indeed all 5 levels of your spell on your ring. All 5 levels on your Ring of Spell Story gone.
And the image is basically going to be it's a huge area.
Yep. 30 foot. No, wait, 20 foot cube, I believe.
No, 30.
30? No.
Anyway, it's going to be just behind the watch officer.
Yep.
Managed to keep his footing. Where it's going to start. And it's going to start off by a electrical effect, as in lightning flashes and lightning arcing between things, and then there's going to be a glow of light that's going to start as a kind of a small sphere, and it's going to glow bigger, and then it's going to flash a bright light, and then when that's gone, standing there is going to be Zora with an Arcanum in both hands, both of which are glowing. That's going to be my opening for this.
Okay.
Oh, and also just to stay with the
Because, yes, the wind is... He has not stopped the spell.
Yeah.
However, on seeing this, you do see his hand stop for a second, and the winds do seem to die down.
And that, I will have that wind effect on Zorak stop.
Yeah. He seems to have, well, been taken a bit by surprise and lost concentration on his spell.
Alright, at this point, Zorak is going to raise his voice.
Which he can do, because this is a major illusion.
Yep. And this, he's going to say, General Skywatcher, this is my town. I have plans here. What are you doing?
I'm just going to roll a reaction to see what the sergeant thinks of this. It's not bad. It's an 11. He's now standing between two hostile sorcerers, as far as he's concerned.
I don't think he's getting paid enough for this.
He does step off to the side, I'll say, because that was only an 11, so he's not running or anything, but he doesn't want to be directly between the two. So you've done your speech with Zorak. You want to see how he reacts?
That's my opening bit.
Yep. Alright. Let's see how the general responds to this. That's a 2.
Well,
So not well, I don't think.
either he's going to be angry or he needs a change of underwear.
I think I know how to interpret that roll. Yeah. You see him, his eyes narrow and you see his mouth turn to a snarl, and he speaks a very quick incantation. And he brings his hand back and brings forward as if he's throwing something. And everyone literally scatters aside as you see a lightning bolt arc from his outstretched hand towards Zorak.
Okay.
So, the illusion cannot make a dexterity saving throw.
The illusion's not even going to bother trying. The illusion's going to stand there.
Yep.
And I'm going to have an electrical effect. Like if electricity dancing around his hair.
Yeah.
I want it to look like he's being hit by this spell, but of course he's not.
Yeah. I am going to roll damage for this. Not for Zorak, but because, well, it's a lightning bolt. It's going to keep going. For
Hopefully, everybody behind this is run off by this point. Because you did say
They have parted. The crowd around us has parted, but there is still... Basically, it's going up the... Well, basically where we came from.
Yeah.
It's going up the...
This is happening here, so this is arcing up this way, right?
Yes, and about 100 feet is probably to the next intersection.
Okay. Wow.
Alright, this is... I mean, lightning isn't easy to control. It's going to probably damage the cobblestones if nothing else as it arcs along. Okay, that's 4 6s.
Oh, he does better than I do with my fireball, that's for sure.
It's 24. 30. So that would have been 38 points of lightning damage.
Oh, my fireballs, I hope they're paying attention, because I suck lately.
I mean, that's a massive waste of damage because it doesn't impact anything. So the good news is, yes, everyone was smart enough to get out of the way. Most people are either watching from the sides of the street corner or from the nearby houses. They do, however, watch as the argent bolt of lightning travels along in a 100-foot line before it just dissipates outwards. And I know it's a magical lightning, but lightning is still accompanied by a massive clap of thunder. And there is smoke and steam rising in its wake because, well, it was relatively wet here recently.
This is what Zorak does.
And the smell of ozone is still, burnt ozone is in the, is...
He still holds
Here.
the 2 Arcanum,
Yep.
and there's some electricity arcing around a little bit.
I'm going to roll an intelligence check on the general's part to see if he's smart enough to realize what happened.
That's an action to disbelieve, isn't it?
It's an investigation check for phantasmal force. Is it for major image? I will double check. I mean, probably wasn't. All right, major image. Can use its action to examine image to determine if it's an illusion. Successful investigation check. Yes, but this is also something passing through your illusion.
Well, I am trying to make it look like it is interacting with it a little bit.
Alright, this is definitely outside the normal range of the spell. I'm going to let you have an Arcana check to see if you can manage that. Depending on how well you do will determine whether or not I roll this check, intelligence check for his part.
Sure, that's fine. That would be a 15.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah. I rolled anyway, but you rolled high enough, but don't worry. He would. I just was curious to see if he would have, and he wouldn't have. So no matter what, you're definitely in the clear here so far.
Alright. Unfortunately, at this point, I am going to borrow from a movie that's not my favorite franchise.
Oh, no. There's only a handful you can be referring to.
Yeah, I'm going to look down my shoulder and just sort of... Oh, okay, still the Arcanum. I'm going to use the back of my hand to wipe my shoulder a little bit. I'm going to hold the Arcanum up again.
I mean, I don't even think the fan base of that particular series likes that entry. So... Another reaction check from him. I mean, it's one better, but it's not a good sign. He rolled a 3 this time to react to that, and... Yeah, he's just... We'll say his facade slips a little bit, and he is definitely shocked by that. He just does not understand what just happened.
Well, you don't have to figure this out. What you need to do is leave town. I'm going to give you 24 hours. If you're not gone by then, I will destroy you. And at the end of that, there is going to be a little bit of gathering electricity besides the one that I'm trying to take anyway. A blinding flash of light, and then Zorik is gone.
Okay.
Cancel the illusion.
As soon as the spectacle is finished, people run. Not screaming, though. But they definitely are hurrying away from here as if they suddenly have somewhere where they must be in a great hurry, and it's not here.
Yeah, they want to live.
Yeah. And you definitely have interrupted his speech in his moment he was preparing for here. Because he looks very frustrated and just generally annoyed.
Alright. I'm out of line of sight, right?
Yes, you are well hidden still.
Alright. As the population gets up, as the population starts hurrying away,
Yeah.
I'm going to try and just meld into the crowd.
Yeah. Roll a stealth check, and I will do the same, because...
That'll be a total of 19. Oh, sorry, no, I have no, that's 20. Dirty 20.
Okay. I rolled a 6, but it wasn't against his passive perception. It wasn't a very high check. I just wanted to see how we were going to do there, because at this point we are just moving with the crowd, and his attention is very much elsewhere.
Alright.
However... Okay. Alright, so where are we going?
Not far. I just want to go up the street a little bit. I want to keep an eye on him. So I'm going to pick one of the shops somewhere around here.
Okay.
I'm going to step inside, just like in the doorway, and keep an eye on him.
Yeah, so we can really observe the damage that the lightning bolt did then.
Okay.
Because The good news is, it was mostly just traveling straight ahead, but the ground is still somewhat scorched along that path, and we can smell the burning ozone. The good news is lightning bolt isn't very wide, and the streets are wide, so no building was hit by this. But you can tell that there's definitely a sense of danger, and there's this oppressive feeling in the air now that among the populace. That a day that they were fearing for a long time has finally come. Alright, so we are going to duck into a shop, you said.
Yeah, just in the doorway.
Okay.
Want to keep an eye on him.
You find probably about half a dozen people doing the same thing. In this case, though, they're desperately trying to just keep themselves looking busy and out of the way of anything happening outside, while occasionally making covert glances over their shoulder or just up outside the shop windows. Just trying to keep an eye on things in the street outside, because they just saw a bolt of lightning go flying down there.
Caused by a person, yes.
Well, they didn't see that part.
Okay.
But it's not going to be too long before word starts spreading.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, what's he doing? What's the Goliath doing?
What is he doing? I need to... Alright, let's see. He's still calming himself down and calming his nerves and gathering himself together. For a military man, this has shaken him considerably.
Interesting.
His soldiers seem to be in the process of waiting orders, basically, but seem to be gathering stuff up because they can see that, well, their attempts to rally the populace seem to have failed.
So while they're doing that, I got there's 4 guys. They all have, there was bidents and
Yes.
trumpets. And
2 of them had trumpets, yes.
the general had his bident.
Yes.
Is there any other equipment with them?
You can make a perception check.
A 5.
Without your owl, yeah.
That's a 5 plus 1.
6.
I don't have perception.
No.
So that's a 6.
That's a 6. Okay. Well, you can get the general feel of it. They have chainmail, they have helmets, they have the bidents, they have short swords, they have the trumpets, and they have some containers and boxes and stuff, which they're definitely going to be taking with them.
Alright.
If it weren't for the fact that everything you just saw, you'd almost assume these people were tourists.
They have a camera above their necks.
Well, cameras don't exist, so no.
They have a little chalkboard with you can make sketches.
It might be in one of the containers. You never know.
Alright, I gotta keep an eye on them.
All right.
Actually, on top of that, I'm going to have my owl pop into existence and fly up onto the top here. And have her. This is 30 feet, right?
Yeah, the space across the road is about 30 feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have her pop into existence near the base here and then fly up on top of the building.
Okay.
Keep an eye on them.
Okay.
Make sure they don't get lost.
So you're perceiving through your owl senses, or are you just keeping watch there?
Give her instructions to squawk if they run off.
The general at this point manages to gather himself, and is...
Yeah, he's lost some face.
Yes, he has. There is no way around that. That was 3 terrible rolls in a row for that. It was literally a 2, a 3, and a 4.
Well, that couldn't have worked better.
But with an 18, he steadies himself.
Yeah.
And gathers his men. He says, well, we knew he might be here. He says, this doesn't change anything. It merely means we must expedite matters. He says, we need a base of operations within the city, and then we will begin our investigations into where this rat is laying low.
Alright.
It says, this about face and forward march. It says, and they start walking.
So they turn around, they're heading this way then?
No, he just said about face, and they're actually heading. Well, the nicer areas in town are along the north-south road.
Yeah, they're along here.
Well, they came along the north road, so I guess they're gonna head south because
They're gonna head this way?
because north is the direction that Ulrich's lies in.
Alright. Well, in that case, I'm gonna step outside to the fountain. Just looking around as if I'm curious as to what all this nonsense was, and then have an owl fly and keep an eye on them.
Okay. Please roll a stealth check for your owl.
That's the second 5. But she has +3, I think, on stealth.
Yes.
8.
So,
So
8.
they're passive.
Yes.
For most people, unless they're really dumb.
No, they all notice the owl flying overhead. You see the general turn and look back from along its flight path, and does see you, because you are now just
Looking at the fountain and stuff. I'm not paying attention to anything. Not even them. At least not visually anyway.
But he has noted you, and they start walking on. That's about it.
I will have my owl fly off, because obviously she's been made.
Yeah, she was spotted.
Yeah. So I guess I'll have to keep an eye on myself. That's not good. I'll just keep back, 30, 40, well, no more than that. About 100 feet back from them.
Okay.
And just gradually just look around. I look at stuff casually, and then try and keep an eye on them. This is gonna try tailing them and try not to be over.
Okay, understood. That'll be a stealth check on your part with advantage because you still have Cat's Grace.
No, I don't.
Oh, that's true. It's gone.
It's gone.
Also, what am I doing at this point?
What are you doing?
Well, do you want me to come with you? Or should
Yeah.
Okay. I was just staying out of sight for the moment, but just keeping an eye for the moment from afar. Alright. Alright, that's better. 15.
I rolled a 15 as well, but I have stealth.
Yeah, so it's
There's
plus, plus 5. Alright, both of us are able to move rather discreetly for this next leg of the journey.
20.
Alright.
So what do they do?
Yes, what are they going to... Yeah, that's basically the... Well, they basically come to... You see the general reach into his pouch at the side and pull out basically a bit of parchment and just reads it for a second. Says, "It's here," and puts it back in his pouch. It goes up to a door, a building. Just, it's the second one, it's the blue one there, the second one. That one, yes. It's more of it's a nicer looking townhouse in this area.
Yeah.
And he just knocks on the door. I don't know if you could hear that.
I picked it up through, but it was faint.
Okay, so I'm not sure if anyone's going to be able to hear that, but he does knock on the door, and there was a pattern to it.
Oh. Can I roll a perception check to
You may.
perceive that? At least I'm rolling better for these important ones. Perception is only +1, so that's 17.
Alright, that is enough. You recognize the knock. I just did it now, but if it wasn't entirely clear, doing it again isn't going to help.
That's fine.
But you're able to recognize it, and you're like, okay, I can probably remember that.
As long as this stuff with it, that's
Yes.
fine.
The door opens
Yeah.
inwards,
Yeah.
and all 5 of them step inside.
Do I see who opened the door?
Alright, you rolled a pretty good perception check. Let's just see. Yeah, a 5 isn't going to beat it. You do. You see 2 people inside.
Okay.
One has the typical look of just a wealthy merchant who probably actually owns the house. You don't recognize him. The other individual, though, you do recognize. Up until very recently, he was a watch officer. No, he's in... No, as far as we know, he's in prison. It's his friend.
Oh.
The one who first threw down his spear and helmet and ran off.
So they didn't really change their ways much.
Not as far as we know. All 5 of them go in. The door is closed, and you hear it latched.
Okay. I'm gonna signal you. Can I see you?
I'm right behind you.
Oh, no, you're not. Further back. In fact, they've gone in. We need to get ears on that.
Alright. How quickly do we need to do this? What do I say?
Quite quickly, I suspect.
Well, then I think your owl might be the best bet.
Well, she's been spotted. So I was hoping that maybe Alice could do this.
She could, but she cannot fly, so she will have to get into a...
Yeah, but we're only 100 feet back, so...
No. She can run up and try and find a windowsill to perch on if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere on this side, probably.
Okay.
Oh, actually, no, the other side would be better, because there's no street on this side.
Okay. So, in between the townhouse and the stables.
Yeah, the other inn that we never went to.
Alright, so it's just a stealth check for her. That's a 22 total.
That's actually just fine.
Yeah. I mean, a cat in a village of this size is not unusual.
No.
So she goes up, perches on the windowsill, quite discreetly, takes a look in, and I'm going to lean back against the building we're beside, bow my head, and enter the trance that lets me perceive her senses. And now I'm going to make a perception check on her part, without advantage, because this is not scent-based. And here comes the second half of this.
Yeah.
Now, that is not a 1. It is only a 12, though. That is still above passive. How discreet would they be being? I'm going to roll for that as well. That's a natural 1. The general is shouting. We can actually hear it from where we are standing. We can't make out the words, but we can hear his voice. He's quite loud, apparently. Alice is very easily able to, well, even with the 12, to listen in. In fact, she probably isn't happy being this close.
Yeah. Alright.
Can familiars suffer from hearing loss?
No.
No.
So, what is he saying?
Well, obviously I can't hear what you're saying at the moment because I'm listening through Alice, unless you're also shouting, in which case Alice can hear you down the road. But no.
Because I know they always hear me.
Alright, I'm going to say, at the moment he's just shouting, and it's just mostly... he's very upset that basically you interrupted his speech in his attempt to... he was basically attempting to gather followers or people in the town to their cause and assist them. And he's not happy that it's going about. The the soldiers and are trying to calm him down for the moment. I'm going to see how successful they are. Okay. He does stop shouting. Alice can still hear relatively well, though. Alright. But we can no longer hear him from where we are standing. So. That's fine. No. Alright. I would say, we have obviously no intention, I'm just basically quoting what he's saying at the moment, of leaving just because one upstart decides that they are above the rest of the court. It says he must be made an example of and brought back. He says, ideally alive to Ulrichs to stand judgment before the rest of the court and then receive his due punishment. But he is not our only concern here. We must also find out what happened to Vapula. Though at this point it seems relatively obvious. We must still confirm our suspicions. You hear a voice which is speaking with some calmness to it and does not sound like any of... Well, basically, you heard the general's voice. You've heard the soldiers briefly talking with him, and you know what the watch officer sounds like. So I'm just going to have you roll an insight check. No, wait, you're not hearing. I have to do this. Sorry. All right then. Insight. Admittedly, this is something we're good at least. A 9. So I think there's someone else in there with them. I'm not entirely certain. Doesn't sound like the merchant. The merchant's too calm.
Okay.
And the voice is saying, yes, it says, I fully plan to go down beneath the ruin of the old inn. It says, it's obvious that was cause. Vapula received authorization to go ahead with that. She seems to have been a bit overzealous in her attempt, but nevertheless, I'll find out what was going on down there. It says, I'm not entirely convinced that we were not followed, though, here. It says, I think, you hear the general say, explain. It says, well, sir, it could just be paranoia, but throughout the entire trip here, I felt like we were being watched. It is my job, obviously, to keep an eye out, and I think I may have spotted a shadow following us. It says, someone from the mountain, you mean? It says, yes, I think we were not the only ones. We were the only ones officially sent. It says, but I do not believe we were the only ones sent. The politics of the court has never been something I have always been privy to, but nevertheless. It says, I believe that may be the case. The general says, well, in that case, we'll have to keep an eye out. It says, there's a few that could have been sent. It says, everyone is concerned about what has happened. It says, we need to find out what happened down there. Vapula's objective was beneath the inn. She discovered that much and disclosed that much in her report. It says, if you feel comfortable heading out now, you can. If you feel like that you must wait until the cover of dark, do so. I leave this up to you. You are, after all, the one best suited to judge when to go yourself. And it says, I may wait for things to die down a little bit, and then wait and see. If things calm down enough, I'll go. If not, I'll wait till the cover of dark. It says, apart from that, it turns says, I was expecting there to be 2 of you potential recruits here. You hear, I think, I say, all right, this is the watch officer speaking now, I think. Says, yes, we ran into some difficulty. Some local wizards have been making a nuisance of themselves. Just do-gooders have been causing a lot of trouble. We had to resign our positions due to their influence. We tried to turn the people against them, but we were unsuccessful. My partner was imprisoned because of it. Well, 2 local wizards. It says that was not in any of Vapula's reports. They must be recent arrivals. It says, in that case, we will deal with them if need be. But I believe we should build our numbers as much as possible. It says he's turning to the merchant now. It says, see if you can assist him in getting our other recruit out of jail. It says we'll have to. It says that will be your mission, apart from providing us shelter here. Yes, sir. It says apart from that. Well, that was a rather unfortunate display that Zorik has pulled off. Says, says he had 2 Arcanum. Says there was the possibility of 1 being here, I know. The odds of 2 being here, I imagine, are rather slim. Zorik's mission involved an isolated plateau. Says to the east of here, I believe. Perhaps he did find something after all. That was not in his report, but if he has indeed turned rogue, that is not surprising. Says, we'll deal with him in time. It says, he does not dictate the will of the court. Right. It says, everyone should get some rest and be prepared to move at a moment's notice. It says, we only await your report before moving forward. And I said, alright, they seem to be settling down at the moment. I don't think we're going to get much more than that.
Okay, we need to do some things quickly.
Alright, I'm going to call Alice back, but I said, I think we should inform Wendell that if he has not already noticed, because of the lightning bolt.
Yeah. We need to go to Wendell's, we need to set the alarm for him, and then we need to, in all haste, head down into catacombs below and set up an alarm there.
Yeah, that other facility down there we found, that temple or whatever it was.
And we need to possibly also stake it out down there. This is a good opportunity to get rid of one of their operatives. If they're going to send down someone
who sounds at the very least competent.
We'll find out. 2-on-1's not bad odds. Not going to get better than that.
No, and it sounds like there's someone stealthy and discreet. They're not going to risk sending a bunch of foot soldiers down with him. That would defeat the purpose.
Off to Wendell's.
Yes. Alright, so we go to Wendell's, who is in a bit of a state and packing. The close sign is there. The door is locked, but when you knock, he comes and sees us and lets us in quickly, and then closes the door and locks again and says, word has gotten around. They're here. And they're already making problems. He says, I mean, honestly, I knew the court of the 7 was a bit much, but casting off a lightning bolt in the middle of the streets?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh, he says, have to pack. He says, yeah, I have to pack up exactly what I need. He says, at least the extra bag of holding means I can take most of the important things with me.
Are you leaving town?
No, but I'm going to be laying low for at least a little while. I have some friends nearby that I can stay with. So I'm going to have to close the shop and take everything of significance with me, though.
Alright, so we won't bother with the alarm spell for your place, then?
I wouldn't mind if you cast it just to keep an eye on the place.
Yeah, actually, we'll change that plan to we'll cast it on the main door.
Yeah, I say I'm going to take out the silver bell and the silver thread. And I say I'm going to ward the door, and it will trigger for anyone but the 3 of us.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So I take the bell. I perform the ritual. It takes 10 minutes. At which point, Wendell's going to start packing. You can assist him if you want to speed this up a little bit.
Yep, I'll help.
All right. With your assistance, you don't have to roll. You're just assisting him. With your assistance, by the time I have finished my spell, you've helped him pack up the majority of the important items. And his gold. And a few other basic belongings like clothes and personal items. And some food he had in here. Wendell does live in this shop, obviously, so he can't take everything with him. But he has the majority of the items he needs that are important to his business and livelihood. He says, alright, well, if you don't mind, he says, he takes out from a component pouch of his belt, a small bead of what you realize is gum arabic with an eyelash in it, which you recognize as the material component for invisibility. He says, I'm just going to have cast the invisibility on myself. You're going to open the door, and I'm going to give you a spare key. Keep an eye on the place. And we're all going to go out, and then I'll be parting ways with you for now.
Best of luck, Wendell. Definitely stay low. We'll let you know when it blows over.
Okay. So we do that. He casts invisibility. We unlock the...
Hold on a second before you do that. I take out of my bag of holding one of the 2 mirrors.
These are the mirrors of teleprojection.
Yeah, so we can get in touch with you if need be, or you can call us.
Okay, you give that to him. He takes it. He casts invisibility. Yeah. We unlock the door. We exit. We use the spare key given to us to lock it up. Yeah. And he says a relatively quiet goodbye, and we hear him heading off, but we don't see him.
Good.
And I said, well, I think we've done as much as we can for him.
Now what we need to do is go to where Vapula's corpse is.
Yes.
Quickly.
Yes. All right. So, we are going to be heading back to a very familiar site for us at this point.
Yes. We are going to be heading back.
Basically right where we were.
What?
Basically right where we were, almost.
Yeah.
Alright, so the ruin of the Platinum Dragon Inn is an even worse state than after in the recent days. Because it was collapsed in an earthquake, there was a storm, there was snow, and so many other things happening to it. It is basically a derelict, rotting building almost at this point. It is still cordoned off, but there are no watch officers present at the moment.
Is there anyone watching this area at all?
You can make a perception check. Make it with advantage because I'll assist you with looking around.
Perception. I should probably get that at some point. 19.
That's very good.
Advantage helps.
Yeah. Alright, you don't see anyone watching the building or watching us specifically. There are people going back and forth. There's lots of people going about busying themselves. Basically, they're fully expecting trouble, and everyone is gathering whatever they might think they might need in a great hurry now to buy whatever supplies and provisions they may need before they lock themselves in their homes probably for the next few days.
I am so glad I did my shopping before this all happened.
Yeah.
Imagine what the price tag would be now.
Yeah, it's probably going to go up. Alright, the good news is...
Do people look at all interested or suspicious of what we are doing?
No one's paying any attention to us whatsoever. At least no one visible. We don't know what else.
Well, I could waste the third level spell slot on this, but I'm going to take a chance.
Okay. I said... I just still have the scroll of sea invisibility, but I don't know if we want to use that yet or not. No. Alright.
There's no reason for them to be watching this spot specifically at this moment.
No.
But that may come up.
Yeah. Alright. So we can go... We're going down?
Yeah.
Alright, so we go down. I'm not going to bother you rolling stealth for this, because from that roll you know that no one really at the moment is actually watching too carefully. Alright, so we go through the ruined structure of the building, back down into the basement, into a very familiar natural forming tunnel. And we're here again.
We're here again.
Where are we setting this up, I say?
I'm right on Vapula's body.
Okay, so that we have to get inside then.
Yes, we have to go inside. Which is not actually this map, but it is on the other side of this door.
Yes. Now...
Are the wards still there?
I would have to cast Detect Magic, which will take 10 minutes if you want to do that.
Oh, never mind.
No? Alright. We need to cross the river.
What's that?
We need to cross the river again.
Yes, we do.
I can just swim across with relative ease.
I don't want to waste any spells on this, so I'm just going to try jumping across.
Yep. You have noticed that the river is actually moving rather faster now because, well, there's been a lot of water added to the water table recently.
Yes, that is true.
Well,
I'll put on my cap of water breathing before I do this jump.
okay. I'm able to make it across with my natural swimming relative ease. Alright, you're going to jump after activating the cap.
After putting the cap on.
Yep. So this will be dexterity for you, yes. You don't have acrobatics, I don't think.
No, I do not.
So just dexterity.
13.
13. That's more than enough. It's not a big gap.
Okay.
Alright, so we cross over. So I said we're not wanting to check at all if all those glyphs of warding are still there. We don't know.
Maybe later, but right now, we've already spent a fair amount of time with Wendell.
Yes.
And we do have to set up another alarm. So we're verging on, almost an hour by the time all this is done.
Alright, so we climb back up the short cliffside there, which is easy enough to do.
Yep, up here.
Yep. And we go back into the natural cave there, that leads into the tunnels that leads to the secret entrance into this place that we've used getting in and out of here several times now. We pass the bodies of the Grix, who are long decomposed by this point. And we come to the solid stone wall where the secret passage is. Right. We trigger the secret passage, and the door opens. And we come into the chamber with the glowing blue torches that never go out, it seems, because no one's maintained this place in a long time. And the smell hits us quite profoundly because, let's be honest, Vapula was in the process of decomposition when we came down here the last time, and that was nearly a week ago, by now.
Funny thing is, when you said that, I heard, and the smell hits us quite...
No.
Like, what?
The smell hits us quite strongly. Yeah, she's almost completely a skeleton at this point. Unfortunately, the parts of her that are not almost a skeleton are rotting quite profusely, and it reeks in here.
Fortunately, I'm not the one that has to set the alarm.
Yes, I take out the little bell and silver thread again. I say, alright, so I'm just warding the area around her body.
Sure.
Okay. I can ward about to 20 feet, so I'm just going to do the entire area in front of the door, basically, with her body in it. Okay. Anyone who comes down here but the two of us is going to trigger this, I say. Alright. I take 10 minutes to set that up.
Then we need to find a spot to basically hide.
Okay. Well, where do you suggest?
The problem is I don't know where this operative is going to come in because they are not familiar with this place.
No.
They're going to possibly just get themselves blown up.
It is entirely possible.
Suggest, because they are going to come in through here.
Yeah.
Get across somehow.
Yes, they're going to cross the river.
I suggest we sort of park ourselves right out there.
Okay. So we go back out and we close the secret passage behind us.
Yep.
Then we go down that way.
Stealthily, please. Oh, try to be stealthy.
Stealth check, yep.
Yep.
11.
I have a 17.
17, alright.
So we'll go sit there.
Alright, so as we are going along here, we come along the staircase that, basically the two sets of staircases that go up to the main staircase, where we see another body, the charred remains of Vapula's bodyguard, who was killed by one of the cliffs of warding last time. This isn't smelling because it's been heavily cauterized, so it's not decomposing well.
There's also not a lot of open air here.
Yes. However, we also hear a noise coming from down.
Down past there?
Yes.
From here?
From down there.
Quickly hide.
Quickly hide. Alright. Alright, as we turn around, so as we go around the far side of the wall there, and hoping that we are not within range of any of the glyphs, because remember there were a few of those, because they're still there. Alright, I'm going to ask for one more stealth check from both of us. 18.
I'm going to burn a point of luck.
Okay, you're using your first point of luck.
15.
Okay. Alright, so we hide down, and we wait. About a minute goes by before we hear the next sound. Alright, there is... You see not one, but actually 3 individuals coming down the corridor.
Okay.
They are all dressed similarly to an individual we've seen recently. The dead woman who was the stealth operative from the Court of the Seven.
Oh, they're dressed like her.
Yeah, they seem to have a similar dress. They're always basically in dark clothing, leather armor, and just some cloaks. There are 3 of them. One of them says, a woman's voice says, "I swear I heard something from down here." Another one says, "Well, maybe you did, but nevertheless," says, "there's no reason to go rushing ahead like this." Says, "We're trying to be as quiet as possible." A third voice, whom I recognize, but you do not, says, "All right, look, we're all here on the same mission. Our masters have all given us the exact same goal, which is to figure out what is going on in this town exactly, to find out exactly what is happening with Vapula. I recommend the 3 of us pool our resources for this. We have no idea what's down here. There could be all sorts of traps or creatures down here. The fact that Vapula has not reported in, and the fact that Zork is here, is very suggestive of certain things that which we do not normally talk about under the normal laws of the court. It says, nevertheless, I fully expect this place to be very dangerous. If nothing else, we have to cross this river. It says, I know the 2 of you are here on your own secret mission, but I suggest that we cooperate for a time. I imagine your masters will have a similar view as mine. It says, you hear 2 voices, agreed. We'll cooperate for the moment. It says, yes, we'll cooperate for the moment and go back upstairs. Until then, we are allies. After that, we part ways, and we mention this to no one but our respect. We mention to no one that we cooperated, and then we report to our. It says, then we make our reports. It says, all right, let's try and get across here. All right, they approach the bridge, and like you, they are all attempting to jump across. You can make a perception check if you want to get some more details about these 3.
Having an owl pop into existence does not actually make a sound, correct?
I don't think so.
Oh, I've done it so many times.
Yeah. I don't believe so. I don't think there's anything in this spell that says that.
Alright, so I'm going to have her come into existence on my shoulder, and I'm going to perceive through her eyes, because she has much better night vision than I do.
Okay.
Natural 20.
Okay.
I love advantage.
Huh, they do not have acrobatics. Alright, so with the natural 20 and your owl's keen sight, you can clearly see the lead figure is shorter than all the others, and I point out that that is the one that was with the general. It is shorter and stockier, despite the fact it's still quite nimble. You think this, based on the builds, is probably a dwarf. He leaps across with considerable grace that is not usually associated with dwarves. But with a roll of a 21, he gets across these. The next one is a dark-skinned woman who is quite tall, and she leaps across also with ease. Less graceful, apparently, though, with only a 16. The main thing that strikes you about her, though, is that one of her eyes is missing. And in place of an eye patch, there's some sort of device strapped there, and it has lenses attached to it, almost as if some sort of arcane device. You're not sure what it is.
I know a little bit about the Court of the Seven now, and the groups of sorcerers involved.
Mm-hmm.
Does this strike me as a particular thing from a certain court that I'm thinking of?
You can make a hefty intelligence check. I'm afraid not. You see a third individual, who you're pretty sure is a half-elf, take a leap and get only halfway and fall into the water. Rolling a 7.
Okay. And what do the rest of them do about this?
Well, they hear the splash and turn around. And you hear the half-elf, also male, say, help! And they're going to see if he can struggle against the current, or see how that's going. That's another 5. Plus nothing, so 5. That is below the DC of resisting the current.
So he's getting washed downstream.
Yes, so he gets pushed 15 feet downstream for failing to resist it. The human woman doesn't seem too concerned by this. The dwarf gives a groan, pulls a rope from his side, and runs down and tosses it to him. And I'm gonna see how well that goes. Okay. That's a 2. Plus 2 is 4. Okay. The rope makes it nowhere near as this individual.
Alright.
So that's that round. Are we doing anything?
Oh
no. Alright. That's a 2. Yep. 15 feet further downstream.
Okay.
The dwarf runs up ahead and says, "Help!" And he says, "Help me!" And he says, we might need his help inside. He runs further down. I'm gonna roll to see if he persuades. Sure, it does. Alright, the 2 of them, she runs up and catches up to him, and the 2 of them in tandem are going to attempt to try and make the rope reach him and try and pull him out now. Advantage, that's enough. Alright. This is the end of the comic display as they manage to throw the rope towards them. Towards the individual in the water, and within a matter of seconds pull him ashore. He is soaking wet and unhappy, but no worse off.
Probably a little tired too, but...
They are also within our vision at this point. They are basically just...
hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Does the current go this way?
Nope, other way.
This way. Oh,
Current goes that way.
down here now.
Yes,
Over here.
they are... We're over... We're right where we are. We pointed.
Yep.
And we are basically just behind the wall. And they are basically in a straight line towards the river, just by its bank from us.
Yeah. Okay.
It is about 60 feet, we'll say.
Alright. So we keep it.
Yep. We haven't moved at all, which is good. So for the moment, we'll leave it at that. It says, all right, well, that was an adventure. It says, now we have 2 choices. It says, there's 2 fairly obvious ways of ingress, I'm sure you 2 can tell. It says, he's commenting on the tunnel, you think.
How do but they don't know if the tunnel goes where...
No, but they can see it's nearby, so they might be able to be just assuming. It says, well, we don't know that tunnel goes inside. It says, but I think it might be worth investigating. But it's tangential to why we're here. Let's go take a look at this temple.
That's what I'm hoping for.
All 3 of them go up and they stop when they see the body. It says, and here the dwarf say, poor soul. It says, I'm just going to see if he... Alright, his passive perception is high enough to notice the scorch marks. All 3 of them. It says, well, that's not an encouraging sign. Alright. They step up, and I'm going to see if they can spot the glyphs of warding, which is a fairly high DC for them, but without detect magic, but it is an investigation check for them. That last one's cocked. That's a natural 1.
We don't have to do anything.
Investigation plus 5. Well, the natural 1 doesn't help. So, that was the human woman who failed. The dwarf and the half-elf both roll... the half-elf rolls exactly an 18, which was the DC of the person who set these up. And the dwarf also rolls well above that, 22. So they stop her from just wandering in. It says, yes, I see sigilry there. It says, I'm fairly certain these are glyphs of warding.
If I only had gust of wind with me right now. Oh, I do have gust of wind. Blow them into it.
You can attempt to sneak up behind them. They're basically standing where the doors are, which is the top of the stairs.
So they're right here?
Right there, basically.
Yeah, we're over here.
Yes, so you would have to sneak up there.
Yeah.
And to cast the spell.
No.
You can give it a try. Says,
good. I doubt I'll make it.
he says, alright, says, I see 4 of them at least.
Now, from what I remember,
Is it? Yeah.
how far from where they're standing is the first...
The second set of pillars.
how far is that? 10 feet? 15 feet?
It's probably closer to 30.
Gust of wind won't even blow them that far.
True, but glyphs of warding can have different triggers. You don't know where they are. They're not ones. They're on the pillars themselves. You remember that, so they're not ones to be designed to be stepped on.
Right.
So you don't know what triggers them.
True. But I can set it all off by just like fireballing them too.
Maybe.
Not the glyphs, just blow them up.
Yeah. We could attempt that if you want.
Well, I think actually this is probably the best we're going to get. Because, I mean, I was kind of hoping that they would not see the glyphs and that would start this whole thing.
Yes, and that they would basically save us the trouble.
Yeah.
Well, that is not the case, I'm afraid.
So I'm going to look at you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this.
Okay. We nod in agreement. Just as we hear... make a perception check. Okay, that's high enough, yeah.
17.
Alright, I rolled an 11, but those are both high enough. We hear a voice speaking an incantation.
Okay.
Not any of them. We'll start with that.
Alright.
We
Not doing anything at the moment then.
yeah, we do not see where the source of this comes from.
Someone is invisible down here.
You watch as almost their shadows seem to lengthen and coalesce, and a form rises up behind them as they're just turning around, and they see a great black dog made of liquid shadow form out of their shadows and rise out of it, and it snarls towards the 3 of them and looks in our direction as well. And I think we're going to take a short break here.
What, just before initiative?
Yes, just before initiative.